Hello, YouTubes and folks. We have this little gem coming in hot off the reel. In fact, this is so fresh, you can still smell the Kentucky single wide on it. It is a gem, let me tell you. Vonhelton has received a revelation, an epiphany, whether through the gods or by nature, we're not sure. But Vonhelton, while sitting on the toilet, has come up with a quote-unquote theory that the reason that there are atheists or people that don't perceive the supernatural world the same way he does is because our pineal gland is covered with some kind of crystalline crust. Yes, it sounds far-fetched, but I have to admit, folks, the toilet is where I most often open my third eye as well. So I'm willing to give this a listen. I've only listened to like the first 6 minutes or so we'll see how this goes. But woe is me. If only we had a field of science or medical research that studied the human brain, we could confirm this. But I don't want to waste any time. Let's get into it.
Your organization is against gun control?
Gun control is for wimps and commies. Listen, let's get one thing straight. Guns don't kill people. I do.
Yes, well.
I was sitting on the John, and as you know, sitting on the John is where you get some of the best revelations, right? But anyway, I was sitting on the John, and I got a revelation of the true nature of atheism. And no, it's not a turd. Quit it. But I did. I really did. I got a true understanding of atheism, and you know, possibly, you know, and this is theory. Okay, we're not saying this is dyed-in-the-wool stuff here. We're saying it's theory, but
And just for the record, not to be nitpicky, but when we start talking about like scientific things, like the vocabulary that you use is very important. And the word theory has a specific meaning in science. I just want to point that out. A theory isn't a guess. I know in everyday conversation people will say things like that, like I have a theory why, but even then it's usually based on some kind of past experiences that you're using some kind of logical progression, whether you realize it or not, to come up with said theory. In science, a theory is a collection of facts. Okay? Sitting on the toilet, pulling things out of your ass, yes, I went there, isn't a theory. I just want to clear that up. This is not a theory. And later on, this is about the only time, like at the beginning of the video, he claims this is a quote-unquote theory, which he means just I made it up. But then continues for the rest of what I've seen of the video to talk about this as fact. So I just wanted to point that out. I mean, I know it's self-evident, but anyways, let's keep going.
you know, I did come to terms with a theory that I believe explains atheism pretty well, and I'm going to share it with you, and you know, then you know, we'll see what comes of that. But you know, your best thinking is done on the shitter, right, guys? I mean, come on, let's be honest. It really is. Okay, so anyway, without further ado, let's get into it.
All right. Let's skip ahead.
Of what atheism might be, and possible ways of fixing it. Although, admittedly, those would be mine, not necessarily what I was getting. You know, well, can you definitely say this is something from the gods? No, at this point I cannot. But it was interesting that it did come to me, and just kind of out of the blue, sort of. Well, what are you talking about, Vaughn? Okay, well, make a long story short, here's the deal, all right? Those of us in the know, those of us that are spiritual and into supernatural things, you know, and have knowledge of that sort of thing, we know that a good portion of that is achieved via the pineal gland, right? Who's to say that the pineal gland might be infected by certain chemicals and as a result become covered in a crystalline structure that inhibits that individual's acknowledgement of the supernatural realm?
Now, first of all, I think it's, again, I don't think I have to say this, but whenever someone starts a statement with who's to say, right, you know it's going to be bullshit. right off the top. You know it's going to be bullshit. But I mean, we do have a who to say. It's called neurology. You know? I'm just throwing that out there.
Hadn't thought of that, had you? I didn't think of it either until I was sitting on the shitter. And then it's like, oh my gosh. Well, that would make atheism a medical condition. And if we could figure out how to remove this crystalline covering over the pineal gland,
which we don't know exists.
You know, brought about by illegal drugs, brought about by certain chemical compounds, brought about by maybe even GMO foods, who the fuck knows. But if we could figure out how to reverse this chemical reaction to the pineal gland and stop it from crystallizing, obviously whole foods being one of the big primary targets right there. You start eating wholesome again, raw carrots, raw vegetables and fruits, and you know, your meat, don't get processed meat, get meat from an actual range.
Yes, Vonhelton is going to give us all dietary advice, okay? A man who feeds himself and his family nightly microwavable dinners. I mean, this is a guy who lives on a steady diet of Cincinnati spaghetti and pot stickers. A guy who throughout his adolescence and most of his adulthood lived on a steady diet of Reese's Pieces and Mountain Dew. He is going to give us advice on how to eat healthy. Now, I eat like shit sometimes, I admit. But I'll guarantee you, I eat a lot healthier than Vonhelton. In fact, I think a more plausible theory, if we're going to go there and use that word, would be that over the years, someone like Vonhelton has consumed so many preservatives and processing chemicals that I think his brain is coated. In fact, I think his brain, ironically, will probably survive for many years as his body deteriorates. I think that's what we're seeing. I think that's more probable, that his brain is encased in some kind of solution, a buildup of Mountain Dew and Reese's and all those chemicals, and he's basically cooked his brain inside his own skull. That's my theory. Anyways, moving ahead.
You know, start eating more healthy, start eating more raw foods where possible. And see what happens, and see if that crystalline crust over the pineal gland starts to break down and shatter. Because if it does.
Now notice, folks, that he's went from calling this a quote-unquote theory, which it isn't, by the way. Once again, it is not a theory at all. Now he's talking about as if it's fact, right? He's moved beyond the idea of maybe something like this happens. If only we had a brain to examine. Like, if only there were pictures available of a brain. Let me Google that for you, Vaughn. Let's just take a look here. Well, these are okay. Well, these are pictures. Let's keep on moving down. Maybe if we could. Yeah, no real brains. That's weird. Okay, another picture. Oh, wait. Well, those are real brains. Look at, they're even holding one. Let's keep on. Oh, there's another real brain. Geez, you know, there's over the years, there's been literally hundreds of thousands of neurologists and medical experts and researchers that have studied the human brain, and I'm not aware, again, hey, I'm not an expert here, I'm just saying I'm not aware of any medical research pointing out anything even close to like what, even Vonhelton's premise that the pineal gland acts as some kind of third eye, yeah, that's what some spiritualists believe. But there's absolutely, the closest thing you're going to find to it, folks, is that there was a doctor who did research on meditation, and they found that it restricted the blood flow to the parietal, I don't even know if I'm saying I can't remember the name of the gland. Anyways, at the back of the brain, it restricts the blood flow to those glands, which gives you a certain sense of like oneness, and all of these different kind of brain effects happen. But, you know, it's a belief. It's like it's not scientifically proven that there's like interaction with the spirit world through the pineal gland. So like right off, you know, we're building a house of cards on a foundation of sand, as Dr. Phil would say. I know this stuff is self-evident. I just thought I'd like to point that out. But Oh, excuse me, folks. But it's like, he's acting like we've never studied the brain before. And as far as I'm aware, there is absolutely no documented cases to support this. And you'd think it would be pretty obvious that like the correlation between like only atheists have this, and people that are more spiritually grounded in their belief system, or believe they have interactions with the supernatural, like they would have some kind of significant feature in their brain that would be different. But again, this is all self-evident. Just pointing out, look at that. I'm not aware of any crystalline crust growing over parts of the brain. But anyways, you're not here to listen to me. Let's listen to the man himself.
I was thinking about this. I said, man, if we could get everyone's pineal gland to fully open, you wouldn't have to tell an atheist there was supernatural. You wouldn't have to tell an atheist there's a God. You wouldn't have to tell an atheist that spiritual and supernatural exist, because the pineal gland is the source of all that shit. It's where all that shit is attuned to, and by God, they'll see the shit for themselves. They won't need me to tell them anything. They'll find out for their own. But it's getting that crystalline crust, if you will, because the idea is, oh well, the pineal gland itself is crystallizing. No.
What does he mean, the idea? Where's what now? Vonhelton just came up with this, but there's already people that have alternate theories out there on this. Like, what the hell is he talking about? I think the only crust you should worry about, Vaughn, is in your man diaper. I'm just throwing that out there. I mean, coming from a guy who admits he thinks it's normal to wear shitty underwear day after day, I think you got bigger problems, dude. I don't know if I have to go to you for any kind of advice on anything. Just throwing that out there as well.
Not according to what I got on the shitter. And it's fine. I know I'm going to get all kinds of fucking cracked up jokes over this, but seriously, the pineal gland is not crystallizing, okay? Because that's one of the things that's out there is, well, the pineal gland itself is crystallizing. No, because if that was the case, none of us would have any supernatural or spiritual at all. And that's not true. Okay, so that's not it. What it is, it's a crust. It's a buildup, okay, of secretion that builds up over the pineal gland, making it difficult to perceive spiritual and supernatural things. And once we can figure out how to break that shit down to where that it passes through the body and their pineal gland is open again, and including opening up ours even more, those of us that are still spiritual and believe in the supernatural, once we figure out how to go after that, how to attack that, that covering that is over the pineal gland, once we figure out how to break it down into the subatomic if possible, and then just pass it right out the body. Once we figure that shit out, you won't need to tell an atheist that God exists. You won't need to tell an atheist that angels, demons, the supernatural, the spiritual exist.
Did you all catch that, Mr. Pagan? Vonhelton is the famous religious flip-flopper, and there is a tell right there. There's a slip. This motherfucker ain't pagan. God, angels, and demons. God singular, angels, and demons. Just like when, he claimed he met a demon, and he knew the only way to get rid of a demon is the Lord's Prayer, right? Like, Vaughn, you are a poser pagan. You're a poser pagan. You're not eclectic. It's whatever. He just said it. The fucking guy's a Christian. I just wanted to point that out, too, because he gets called on that all the time by other pagans. And there it is. There it is.
Because all they got to do is waltz out their door and they're like, holy shit, look at all this stuff. You won't have to tell them a damn thing. All right.
So, again, Vonhelton, if you're walking out your door and seeing angels and demons and shit flying around, yeah, you got bigger problems, man. I wouldn't be worrying about other people's brains.
But it's figuring out how to get, wholesome foods is a good start, but I suspect that there might have to be more involved in that. I don't want to say that, that I definitively know how to remove this shit, because that's a lie. I'm still learning this myself. But, once you know the problem, then finding a solution isn't quite that difficult, right?
Knowing is half the
So
battle.
we need to figure out what the solution is. We need to figure out how to stop this
Here we
formation
go.
of this crystalline covering. Because, like I said, listen to me carefully.
Okay.
As my oatmeal pie disintegrates on me, damn.
Oatmeal pie.
Listen, the pineal is not crystallizing. It is a covering. It is a covering. And we get rid of that covering, everyone opens up.
Just sit and admire it,
It'll
folks.
be awesome, man.
Oatmeal pie. He does this on purpose, by the way.
And I thought, well, maybe that's something that the gods can do when they come back,
Now he's back to being a pagan, folks.
is remove that that crystalline crap off of our pineal gland.
Here you go, gratuitous. There's a keeper. The Gumisher punishes his oatmeal pie. Lick it up. Eat her up.
But let me stress, in the strongest of terms, that the pineal gland itself is not crystallizing. It's some kind of a film or goop or whatever.
Well, wait. Who's to say it's not? I mean, if you can just say it's a crust, why can't I say no? The gland itself is crystallized. Like, I mean, what the fuck, dude? How can you say no? It's not when you just admit that it was revealed to you sitting on the toilet, dude. I mean, this is just ridiculous. This is nuttiness. This is the internet. Let's keep going.
That's around it, over it, covering it.
Mountain Dew. Chase that oatmeal pie.
Everyone's pineal gland is still okay. It's just got that goop all over it. We get that goop off of it, everybody will become enlightened almost instantly. We can figure out how to get rid of that shit. And like I said, this is, it's probably something that would either take an act of the gods, or it would take a great deal of time. Because this shit wasn't done overnight, okay? It took years and years and years for this to happen. But I can't stress enough that the message I felt I was getting was that, no, your pineal gland is fine. It's just like a covering and a blockage of some kind. It's some kind of chemical substance around the pineal gland. All right? So, what we need to do then is we need to figure out how to break it, And like I said, eating wholesome foods is a good start. I don't think that's the only thing we'll have to do, but it's a good start. And and like I said, I think if an atheist's pineal gland is opened up and is not being blocked in any way, I won't need to tell them that God exists. I won't need to tell them that there's angels and demons and
Oh, he's a
all
Christian
kinds of
again.
cool shit out there to explore and be fascinated by. I get fascinated by the spiritual and the supernatural. I am fascinated by it.
I think it's neat too. I mean, I got nothing against watching movies about ghosts and things like that. But I mean, I honestly believe, and listen, I want to be clear here. I'm not talking about just people who are religious or whatever. I mean, we can have that conversation. But I'm talking about people like way out there like Vonhelton. And the reality is he's just so overwhelmed by the human experience. His life is in reality grounded in a trailer in the hills of Kentucky. Like, this fucking guy is isolated from the rest of the world. Like, he doesn't, I'm just being honest, his fucking life sucks, right? So he doesn't really understand how the world works. So he finds solace in these grand illusions, whether he even really believes them or not, right? Because to him, a world full of magic and fairies is much more relatable and easy to understand for him than actually educating himself on how things work. Like the fact that we have studied the human brain for centuries. Well, I mean, let's even just talk about modern medical research, right, of the 20th century and so far in the 21st century. And there's been absolutely nothing to support what Vonhelton is saying. And then to go on and say what is true and not true about this. Like, if you're just making it up, just make, well, I don't know. I think this is, again, pretty self-evident, the things I'm saying. At least to me, I think it is. But then I watch YouTube and BitChute and the internet, and I see, because it's not just Vonhelton, there's just a lot of kooky out there, kiddies. Let's keep moving along.
And it's and in many ways it's beautiful. You know, yes, there's evil out there. Yes, there's bad things out there, but there is so much good out there as well. And that's the thing about it, you know. But anyway, I was just I was just taking a dump and boom, you know.
His third eye was open.
Say, well, you know, people laugh at that. Oh, you know, well, Vaughn's the porcelain prophet or some shit like that. You know?
I like that, actually.
What it is
porcelain
anytime
prophet.
you get good and quiet, that's the best time for the gods to impart shit to you. Doesn't matter whether you're on the shitter or in the bed asleep or whatever.
Just
Anytime
don't shit
you're
the bed.
quiet and alone, and you know you're not besieged by all kinds of noise and distraction. That's the best time for the gods to just zip something in there, and it's like, oh wow, where the hell did that come? That's cool, you know. So that's one of those situations. I just happen to be quiet and not really doing much, and it's like zap. Oh wow, the pineal gland of all things, you know. Of all the things to think about when you're on the shitter, I just happen to think about the pineal gland. No, of course not. Of course not. Obviously, there's more to it than that, right? But you know, can I say 100% that this is something that the gods have imparted? Not really, but I'd say it's kind of high. You know, I'd give it 80% or something.
Oh, we got an 80%, folks.
And I think that's the mailman.
Uh-oh.
In fact, I'm almost certain it is.
New cars, folks.
But yeah, I just thought I would throw this out there and see what you all thought, because it is quite interesting. You know, I mean, can you imagine if there is imagine no atheists. Imagine no communism, because, you know, I mean...
Oh, fuck, here we go.
Once everybody's pineal gland is fully opened up and they're seeing all this supernatural shit going on, and they're able to perceive things in a much better and a much more thoughtful way. Communism dies, socialism dies, fascism maybe not, I don't know. Probably does, though, probably needs to. But any form of atheism, any form of you know, untowards in regards to the supernatural spirit, it's gone, man. It's gone. Once your pineal gland is fully open, man, you no atheist.
Vonhelton does realize, like, he lives in a secular society, right? Even though I know I'm not starting an argument. I'm just saying, like, even though, like, the majority of the population is Christian, the governmental structure he lives under is a secular one, right? Like, he does realize that. I'm just saying.
Atheism can't exist. Atheism cannot coexist in the same environment as an open pineal gland. It just can't. So, you know, I just thought that was an interesting thing to have pop in my head, and I thought I'd share it with you, because usually when I share things like this with you, months, 2 months, 3 months, a year later, they end up coming to pass, don't they? So, you know, we'll see. But
we'll see.
I just thought this was an interesting thing, and you know, if we can somehow figure out how to get rid of that crusting, because one of the things I want to stress, you know, whether you believe it was of the gods or not, one thing I want to stress is that it was imparted to me that the pineal gland is fine. There's nothing wrong with your pineal gland. It's just that you know, various chemicals, various you know, anomalies, whatever. And you got this encrusting, this crust over the pineal gland. Crystalline in nature, according to many, according to some.
So, if it did come from the gods or wherever it came from, Vaughn, why didn't they tell you how to get rid of it? Just saying.
I don't know. Crystalline, but it's a crystalline type, and it somehow inhibits your ability to perceive the supernatural. And so, getting this gotten rid of would be a boon to everyone, but it would mostly destroy atheism. I mean, atheism would be destroyed right there. Gone. Be totally gone. In my humble opinion, it would be totally destroyed at that point. Because when you're perceiving the supernatural everywhere you go, you can't be an atheist. I mean,
This is actually an excellent insight into how Vaughn lives his life. Like, is he suggesting that when he goes out to Walmart, he's literally seeing angels and demons and things walking around him? Is that what he's actually saying? Is this the life that Vonhelton lives? Wow.
Look at me. I mean, from the time I was a little kid, man, seeing angels and demons
Oh, I guess so.
spirits of all kinds. Experiencing supernatural things everywhere I go, literally just about. Right on up until this time. I have been a lot of things. I have been a Buddhist. I have been a Taoist. I have been a Satanist. I have been a Christian. I have been, various and sundry other things.
You still are a Christian, Vaughn.
But one thing I've never been is an atheist. Why? Because the supernatural is literally all around me, and I know this. I'm cognizant of it. And so there would never be a time when I would harbor atheism.
Kentucky hill folk are not spiritual beings. I'm throwing that out there.
Never. Now, there's been times I got pissed off at the gods, and of course I got punished for it too. But, as far as, ever being an atheist, no, I can't, because I've seen so much shit. I've seen way too much. You reach me too late, as the old saying goes. I've seen too much, man. There's no way in hell I could ever be an atheist because of everything I've seen and experienced. And as I stated in somebody's live show, I said, look, man, I could never, I can't perceive, better phrase, I can't perceive people that say there is no such thing as the supernatural or spiritual, because I've experienced it all my life. I can't go out this door without experiencing something supernatural or spiritual.
So I guess that answers that question.
It's a part of me. It's so much a part of me that there's no way I could ever harbor a thought like that. And so imagine then, if everybody's pineal gland is suddenly opened because we found a cure, let's call it, that removes that gunk from over top of your pineal gland, so that you can get the signal again. It's like a radio antenna. You can't get no signal because the damn signal's blocked by some kind of garbage over your antenna, so let's call it.
So spirits and gods cannot penetrate this crystalline. He keeps flip-flopping. One time it's like a crust, it's crystal. Next time it's a goop. I mean, it is. I think his belief system is pretty fluid, folks.
Remove all that garbage from around your antenna, and then you're going to pick up the signal, and your eyes are going to be open, and it's going to be like, oh my God, it's going to be amazing shit. And when that happens, whether it be a sovereign move of the gods or whether it be us figuring out how to remove this crystalline crap from on top of it, it would be amazing. It will be amazing. Just a crazy, crazy thing. But anyways, I just wanted to throw this at you, see what you thought. Like I said, the trolls and haters will probably make hay out of this damn thing. But I don't care, because, finding out the truth is a hell of a lot more important than what some damn hater on YouTube says, right? So, that's the goal. And besides, if I don't make you think, then I'm not doing my job, right? I want you to think, man. I want you to figure this shit out, And you may be the one that finds the cure, quote unquote, that removes the crystalline crap from off of our pineal glands, so that we can be even more spiritual and even more supernatural and embrace more of what the gods have in store for us. Because the gods have a lot in store for us, I believe. But as long as that block is there, it's like an antenna that ain't getting a good signal, you know. We need to get a good signal. We need to get a good, strong signal. And you can't do that with all that crystalline crap over top of our pineal glands. Okay, we get rid of that shit, and boom, man, we're gonna be blasting, right? Okay. But anyway, I just thought I'd throw that at you and see what sticks, you know. See what you thought about it. Anyway, y'all have a pleasant day and a better tomorrow.
Well, there it is, folks. And I think we're coming in at the half-hour mark, somewhere in there for my video. I do apologize, but I wanted to give you the whole scoop here. So, yeah, thank you, Vonhelton, for that little gem. What do you guys think? Comments below. I think, personally, the cheese done slipped off this man's cracker. And I think I'm standing by my own theory that this has just been the result of a backwards, downward spiral ever since Putin flipped his switch when he sang Blueberry Hill. I think this is a result of mind control perpetrated by the Russians on Vonhelton. He is a Von Churian candidate. He's a sleeper. He's a Russian asset. Notice he hasn't made an Epstein video? Interesting. I think his brain should be. I think modern science would marvel at Vonhelton's brain if we could study it. But anyways, I'm done babbling. I just want to thank all you fine ladies and Gentiles for watching, and be careful out there. It's a weirdo wonderland. Thanks for watching.